So you just got your first teaching job and you are so excited. August comes around and then it kind of hits you that this is really happening. You're really about to start your first teaching job, and that anxiety kind of settles in a little bit. I know that feeling of excitement and nervousness firsthand from my own experience, and so I have come up with 10 new teacher tips to hopefully help you guys, whether you are starting your first year of teaching ever or you are transferring to a new school. Now before we get started, let me introduce myself if you are new to my channel. So I am Michelle and I am a kindergarten through 6th grade art teacher. I have had 3 jobs at 3 different schools, and so I feel like sometimes when you go to a new school, it's almost like your first year of teaching all over again. Even though you have experience coming in the door, you still have to learn about all the students and all the staff and the way that the school runs, and it can be a lot. So for these 10 tips, I kind of pulled from my experience of my actual first year of teaching, and also I pulled from when I went to different schools and it was my first year of teaching at that school. Now I am actually collaborating for this video with a few awesome teacher tubers, and I will link all of those videos below, and you can click those and check out their channels as well. My first tip for new teachers is to build relationships. Building relationships with students is so important, especially for your first year. You need to get to know them, they need to get to know you. You need to make those connections because then the rest of the year will kind of flow a lot easier. They need to be able to trust you, and especially as someone who is brand new to the building, they haven't seen you around, they haven't heard maybe from their brother or sister or a friend, who has had you in the classroom. So you need to make a connection with students as best as you can. I actually have a video all about building relationships with students, and I will put that in a card right above. I highly suggest you check that out because it is just so important to make connections with your students. It's probably just as important, if not more, to build relationships with your coworkers and the staff at your school. I say it's almost more important because they are like your lifeline. Like if you have any type of question, you have all those people who are willing to help you. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help from your fellow teachers. It's kind of like doctors who get consults for patients, except we're getting advice on our students. My second tip for new teachers is to set classroom procedures and routines and really take the time to go over them with your students. I feel like oftentimes in the beginning of the year we feel a little rushed. We have our mind on all these different things, and sometimes we don't take time to really slow down and go over those procedures with our students. Trust me, it can be grueling in the beginning. You're going over the same thing over and over. You're having them practice it. You're modeling it. But in the end, it will pay off so much because you're going to be able to get so much more done later on in the year when those procedures are already set for you. My third tip for new teachers kind of goes along with my second, and that is to not be afraid to pause your lesson and revisit any classroom procedures or routines or even the lesson objective if students just are struggling and not getting it. As teachers, we are so worried about getting content in and having time, and sometimes that really hinders us from doing what I think we know best, which is to pause and revisit some things that the students need to hear again. Basically, don't be afraid to stop, revisit, redo, whatever you have to do. You just need to really read your students and kind of base it off of that and not be so constricted by your lesson plan. Tip number 4 is to be true to yourself and your teaching style. Now, it's your first year of teaching. You probably won't know your teaching style yet, and that's okay. That's what it's all about, finding it out, trying different styles, and figuring out what works best for you. What I mean by this tip, though, is don't just do a classroom management procedure or a way of, structuring your lessons simply because you saw it online or you had a coworker do it and that's what they said that you should do. Just like there are different styles of learners that are sitting in your classroom, there are also different styles of teachers, and we are learners too. So don't just put yourself in a box and expect that, this person's procedure or this person's technique is going to work for you, because it might not. Trial and error is a big thing in finding your style, so you can try all these different things, but if it doesn't work for you, don't get upset. It's just not your style. It's not what's going to work in your classroom. But trying all those different things will help you kind of get a feel for what you like and what you don't like, and then you'll slowly start to develop what your style is and what works for you. Number 5 for my tips for new teachers is to maintain balance in your life. You are excited and you are passionate and you really want to go out there and give it your all. You want to stay and work on these bulletin boards and do this and do that and make your classroom look like the Pinterest, Instagram perfect classroom. I feel like every teacher has been there with that pressure of trying to make your classroom the perfect classroom, your lessons the perfect lessons, and go all out. And as your first year of teaching, you have so much to figure out that you can't always have everything. You can't have the perfect classroom, and that takes time. It takes time to build that up, get all of those supplies and those cute containers, and it takes time. So I would not beat yourself up about having the perfect classroom. Instead, I think you gotta focus on having a balance. Some nights you're gonna want to stay late and get some stuff done. That's okay. But it should not be every single night. You need balance. You need to keep some of your hobbies. You need to have time to yourself when you get home, for your family, for your pets, whatever it is. But you need balance or you're going to get burnt out. That might mean setting an alarm on your phone and saying when that alarm goes off, I'm going home even if I don't get X, Y, and Z done. Or maybe every other night you go home, you have time to yourself. The other days you stay after school and you work a little longer. The same goes for weekends. I know it's hard to not bring stuff home. You're going to probably especially do that your first year, especially because you're excited. Like sometimes it's not necessarily seems like work if you're prepping different labels and fun, cute stuff like that. It's not work per se. Like we enjoy that. But still you need to have balance throughout the weekend as well and not work constantly through the whole weekend. Please spend time on yourself, on your family, and having that balance so that you're ready for your students on Monday morning. Number 6 for my tips for new teachers is to save your pennies. Do not spend your first year of teaching. There's a few reasons for this. First of all, like I said before, you don't really know your style yet. You're trying out new things for your classroom. You don't want to go out and buy all this stuff, a theme for your classroom, different containers, different organization systems, and then what if down the road you find out that it doesn't really work for you? I feel like this has happened to me a lot. I buy different container systems and I set up different, areas in my room a certain way. And then after a few months or a year, I'm like, that didn't really work. And then I revisit it and then I have to go buy new stuff and set it up in a different way. So until you really know what to do and how you want to organize your room, I would not suggest you go spend all this money at Target and education stores and things like that. Instead, go to your room and do a little inventory first. A lot of times when you enter your room for the first time, you're going to find that the teacher before you left so much stuff. Sometimes too much stuff. And then once you do that inventory and you find out what you think you need, go and reach out to friends, family, and coworkers. There's going to be a lot of teachers probably giving away some things that they don't want anymore. You'd be surprised what some of your family and friends have in their attics or their basements that they don't need anymore, especially children's books. Definitely put that out there on Facebook to your friends and family. You'll probably get a lot of great feedback and some awesome children's books as well. Yard sales are a really great place to find teacher supplies. The dollar store. I mean, there's a lot of different areas that you can get some stuff without going all out and spending tons and tons of money. Now, I will say there are a few things that I suggest that you're gonna want and it's valuable to have because you will use it throughout the years of teaching. I can do a video on that. Some of the things I'm thinking off the top of my head would be like my laminator, a really, really good stapler, a really good pencil sharpener, like certain things like that yes, you are going to use. It's an investment. I suggest you get those items, and like I said, I can do a video on that before the school year starts. So you know what, just hold off for now. Get a few things here and there, get hand-me-downs from other teachers, start slow, and then slowly build it up throughout the years. Number 7 for my tips for new teachers is to stay organized. As a teacher, you're probably already organized, but what I mean is, at least for me, my first year as teacher, I had so much paperwork to do. Actually, my first 3 years of teaching at this new school, I had so much paperwork to do. I had to keep track of all the professional development I did. I had to keep track of meetings I went to. I had to observe different teachers. Like, there was just so much stuff. So I remember I got a big binder. I labeled everything. I put it in there. I organized it all. And you gotta stay on top of it because if you let it go, it's gonna get ahead of you. And for me, I needed all that stuff and I'm gonna be using it soon to apply for my level 2 certificate, which is a Pennsylvania thing. I'm not sure how other states work, but you have to prove all of this information and things that you did, and it all goes to the state. So depending on the state, you know, you might get different types of things, but I guarantee you probably have a lot of paperwork thrown at you in the beginning, even if it's just things about your district and your school. Every time I went to a new school, I had tons of paperwork given to me. So what you could also do now, which I love doing, is scan the documents and make a folder in your Google Drive, and that way you have 2 copies. You have your hard copy, and then you also have them as PDFs online, and I feel like that's really safe because you can access it anywhere, and in case you lose or damage the hard copy, you have that as a nice backup. My 8th tip for new teachers is all about planning, and that is to find a planning system that works best for you. Now, I am a crazy planner with my personal life and my school life, and I always flip-flop through different planning systems, but you know, that is something that you want to focus on as a new teacher. Like, how are you going to plan this year? Are you going to have a physical planner? Are you going to have a digital planner? For me, I use planbook.com, and I will put a link to that below, and I use that for all of my lessons, my classroom planning, things like that. I even can put notes in there. I can put different schedule changes that the school has. It's really nice. You can color code it. I love it. Now, for my personal planning, in the past, I have done a happy planner. I love happy planners. You could use that for lesson planning also, or like a combo. Recently, I have been loving digital planning, and I can have a link to my digital planning video right above. You just have to find the planning system that works for you. I would also suggest you pick a day and figure that's your planning day and plan out your lessons for the week, or for me, it's a cycle, but you need to like set aside time to really plan out everything and just keep on top of your lessons and stay organized. My 9th tip for new teachers is all about the mid-year struggle. There is a special time in teaching that is from a little bit after Christmas, winter break time to, I would say, right before like the end of the year fun crazy time, where it drags on. It's just a time where teachers often get into a funk. Your students sometimes are in a funk. It's just dragging out. It's a real mid-year struggle. What can I say? So to survive the mid-year struggle, I would suggest you mix up your lessons a little bit. So students are used to the same stuff. They're used to the same routines. Make it so when they walk in the room, they are so engaged because you're doing something completely different. Classroom makeovers are perfect for this, like a day makeover where you redo your room to have a theme. Those are always really fun. Now, please don't go out and spend tons of money on these. You can try to DIY as best you can. I've even seen some teachers not tell their students what's going on. Like, they'll just have an accent that day, or they'll be dressed different that day, and they don't even tell their students what's going on until later when it's time for that lesson. So their engagement is up, their excitement is up, and it just creates a fun atmosphere all day. Another reason why this is so important to mix things up mid-year is because you're, like I said, in a funk too, and you need to think about your excitement and happiness for teaching as well. If you're doing the same things and you're doing the same style of teaching over and over and over again all year, it's going to wear you down as well. So this is for the students, but it's also for you. Another way to get through those mid-year blues is to do some full-on school community events. Maybe you have an award for students that day where they go all and watch a movie, or maybe you have a buddy reading thing. We did that in my school where all the students go out and they get paired with an older student and they read together in the hallway. Get together with your team, get together with your coworkers, have a staff morale booster event. You know, anything like that that can get those mid-year blues out of the way. And if your school doesn't have something already in the works with like a committee to plan that stuff, you're a first-year teacher, you're excited, go ahead and go to your principal about it. They will probably love you for stepping up and wanting to do something like that. My 10th tip for new teachers, and probably one of the most important ones in my experience, is to stay positive. Oh my goodness. You guys know I preach positivity like all the time, but you have to stay positive and roll with the punches and just don't let little things get you down. Positivity is so contagious, and if you are positive, your students will be positive. If you are positive, the people around you might be positive. So just keep holding on to that positivity. So basically, I guess what I'm saying is don't let anyone rain on your parade, or anything for that matter. You're a new teacher and you have all of that awesome excitement, and you know what? You have to hold on to that. Like, I would hate to see new teachers get frustrated and down on themselves, or they have their kind of like fire burnt out Don't let that happen. Stay true to yourself, stay positive, and do what's best for the kids. Okay, everybody, that was my 10 tips for new teachers. Whether you are a brand new teacher and this is your first job or you are transferring to a new school, all of these tips will hopefully help you be successful your first year. Also, don't forget to go down below and check out those teachers' links as well for more tips for new teachers. They all have different experiences. They all live different areas than me. Chelsea is a music teacher, which is really awesome. There's Vanessa, who's a second grade teacher. There's a bunch of different content areas and things like that. So you're going to have different feedback and different perspectives, which is amazing and which is why I love this TeacherTuber community. So go ahead and check those videos out. Like I said, they will be linked below. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. You can also like this video. It helps a lot. And if you are a new teacher, comment below. I would love to chat. If you are a teacher who is not a new teacher and you have a different tip than I have done, comment below as well. All right, everybody, happy teaching, stay positive, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.